ilame Olon Aba Jifar rosa di goname Dire Masaraa kabajan nuame.
The palace of Abba Jifar is one of tourist centers around southwest Ethiopia. The impressive palace built on Jiren mountain is about 8 kilometers from the center of Jimma town. From the site, one can easily see every part of Jimma city. The palace is built on Jiren mountain, which is a strategic place to look and control the enemy coming to the town from all directions. The palace of Abba Jifar was built by the cost of 400 kilograms of gold and 65,000 Maria Theressa Dollars towards the end of 1860s. The palace was designed by Indian engineer. It stands with colorful architectural beauty. In the compound of the palace still stand other 4 buildings: the public mosque, the mosque of Abba Jifar, residential palace of Abba Jobir and Abba Dula, the grand of Abba Jifar. The palace has 3 stories. Each store has different classes that built for different purposes. Materials and furniture of Abba Jifar were collected to the Jimma town museum. As a result, those classes are empty. There are different wooden pillars which were designed by local artisans. These impressive designed pillars are supporting the upper floor. This is the sample of the original materials from which the wall of the palace made. The wall of the palace built from the mixture of turf grass, mud, egg and powder of wheat by local artisan. On the top of main gate of the palace there is a flat decorated wooden surface. On this wooden there is Arabic words which are written by Arabic alphabet. According to our tour guide Kadir Tamam, the Arabic script says, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu wasallam. This means Allah is one, Muhammad is prophet. Next to the main gate there is the wide classes which was served as a salon and surrounded by different classes. The class had different purposes: meeting room, feasting room, female worshipping room, and male worshipping room. In the former salon of Abba Jifar there are some house furniture, bed and box. All beds are made from skin and wood in special design. This is Sanduka Bulbula, box for mix honey with water to prepare type of drink called Bulbula Damma, alcohol-free drink. This is other box which used to put clothes in it. Both boxes were made from a single wood locally. That means it is not fixed together by nail and any other fixer. This stage found in the palace which leads to first stores and it was constructed only from wood and nail. On the second stories of the palace, there are different classes. The first class is the tax collecting room. This room is the center for other rooms. Tax collectors stay here and collect taxes come from different parts of the state. Next to the tax collecting room, there is a bathroom. It was served for Abba Jifar and his families. In the palace of second store, there are also females and males class for teaching Quran separately. In 19th century, Abba Jifar was followed the modern court system. He had the room for courts and he symbolized justice by madala, materials used for measuring weight balance. But this madala is not exist in the late court class of Abba Jifar. At this time, it is found in Jimma museum. These classes were served as Abba Jifar wives' rooms. He had 6 wives and 1 room for each wives. The rooms of all wives found on the second store at back side of the palace. At the roof of those classes there are palaces from which Abba Jifar, his family and others watch wrestling. The wrestling was performed between the youngsters of the slaves. The wrestling ring is rounded by the palace. It has open air. It is found at the center of the palace and seen down from the second stories of the palace. The guard room found at the top of the palace and it has 4 windows. Each of these windows has its own name and purposes. These are Balbala Limu, Balbala Shawa, Balbala Kafa, and Balbala Dauro. Balbala Limu used to see the enemy come from Limu side. Balbala Kafa used to see the enemy come from the direction of Kafa. Balbala Shawa also used to see the enemy come from direction of Shawa. And lastly, Balbala Dauro used to see the enemy coming from direction of Dauro. While we were visiting the palace, social anthropology of Addis Ababa University students also used to visit the site, and they told us their feelings.
እሺ ዛሬ እዚህ በመምጣቴ በጣም ደስተኛ ነኝ። በእውነት ማለት በታሪክ የተማርኩትን ነገር በተግባር እዚህ ማየቴ በጣም ደስተኛ አድርጎኛል። በጣም ያስደነቀኝ ነገር የአባ ጂፋር የትከሻው 1 ሜትር መሆንና ቁመቱ በጣም አስደንቆኛል። እና በጣም የዛኔ በጣም ሞደርናይዝድ ሆኑ ነበሩ አባ
I'm happy to come here. I surprised the height and the width of King Abba Jifar shoulder. I get many things from this visiting because he supports us to realize that we learn in the class theoretically. We visit material culture which presents the community. But to preserve this heritage, the palace should be maintained.
ያው የመጣበት ከአዲስ አበባ ዩኒቨርሲቲ የሶሻል አንትሮፖሎጂ 3ኛ ዓመት ተማሪ ነኝ። ያው እንደምታውቁት ያው አዲስ አበባ እና እዚህ ያለው ርቀት በጣም ከፍ ያለ ርቀት።
I'm third year student of social anthropology from Addis Ababa University. We learned a lot about the palace after we come here. It is very smart because it shows indigenous constructional architecture and the creativity of our ancestors. But the palace should be maintained carefully to keep its originality.
The palace is extremely old and needs maintenance, and the visitors should be oriented not to damage the palace during visit. Concerning these visitors, gave their comments.
From the Department of Social Anthropology at Abba University, and we are now in the historic palace of Jimma Abba Jifar. It is better to see the current and contemporary situation of the museum and what the shocking situation that I'm observing in the area. It is not respected and maintained. The things that it deserves, due to one or another factor. In fact, there are a lot of visitors, local and international, that may flock to this area, but I doubt that they will be satisfied on just 1 or 3 factors. The first factor is it is not well kept. For instance, local visitors, I have observed the local visitors are not just simply writing their names and the days that they arrived here on the wall, not on the other materials and so it should be oriented for the local, particularly for the local visitors, not to act in such manner. Unless otherwise, within a short period of time, we may lose this historic palace and this historic area that may have a silent bearing on the country's tourism sector. Therefore, all concerned bodies, including the local, the regional, and the national concerned bodies should join their hands to preserve this irreplaceable palace. Unless otherwise, things may not go well.
Other problem commented by the visitor is that about the issue of the road and the artifacts which are not in the palace.
The second thing that I observed is the road itself, and from the Jimma to this area it may just take around 30 or 25 minutes if properly handled. But we are expected to go a lot, not more than 1 hour, due to the less facilities, particularly road. Unless otherwise, no one can sacrifice him or herself to come to this area without giving due attention to the road. So the road should be built by anybody, including the local, regional, as well as the national heritage managing organizations, so that we can get the best from this area.
It is true that the artifacts are not in the palace. They are collected in the Jimma Museum and mixed with other nation and nationalities artifacts.
The other thing is the materials themselves. This area, account more than a century, and there are century-old materials that have been used by the king and his colleagues in this area. But we couldn't get all of them at this center, unless we don't know, for the reason not known for us. But some of the guiders told us that things have been concentrated at Jimma, but there is not a peaceful, an easy way to go to there. So still, one thing that should be given emphasis is the museum should be built here so that local and international visitors can observe them easily. Unless otherwise, it is not good, even easy to go back in Jimma and come here. Such kind of sacrifice may not be expected from anybody. So generally, what is that I have general comment regarding this area is I hope that all concerned bodies have given due emphasis for this area. I don't know the reason. Therefore, keeping this area is keeping the country and maintaining this cultural and historical museums, maintaining Ethiopian culture, and so that we can be known even more than what we have known nowadays. This is what I have as a general comment, and I would like to thank all this, including the media. Therefore, I would like to thank you all.
The museum visitors guide told us the complaint of visitors about misplacement of the materials from the palace.
ቤተ መንግስታቸው ውስጥ ያልቆየበት ምክንያት አንደኛ ለእቃው ሴኩሪቲ ሲባል ነው እና የእቃው ሴኩሪቲ ስንል ጥበቃው አይመችም ነበረ። ሁለተኛ ነገር ደግሞ ብዙም
Yes, the visitors complaining the misplacement of the material. They want to see the materials used and made by King Abba Jifar in the palace at natural setting. I think that it is good the materials are returned back and visited in the palace.
To know the reason of the collection of the materials from the palace to the museum and the solution planned in the future, we asked the head of Jimma Town Culture and the Tourism Office.
Masaraan suni durani eegumsa gahaan qabu ture. Meeshaaleen baay'een faayidaa qaban kan hambaalee adda addaa.
It is true that artifacts of Abba Jifar Palace were transferred from the palace to Jimma Museum, and at this time the materials are kept in the museum. The reason of the materials were transformed to the museum is that during fall of the Derg regime there was no favorable condition. The environment by itself was not secure, because at a time there was no political stability and some materials was stolen. Therefore, to save the materials all collected in the museum. Now after the palace maintain all Abba Jifar materials will received back to the palace.
The palaces are on the process of the maintenance. Concerning the maintenance of the palace, persons have opposite idea. Many persons say the maintenance will abolish originality of the palace. The supporters says unless it is maintained, the whole of the palace will be fell down in short period of time. By the way, in the maintenance is the originality concerned?
Yes, the main challenge in maintaining of the palace was about the issue of keeping its originality in the process of maintenance. In the past, we have started maintaining the palace, but the maintenance did not consider its originality. Therefore, the National Heritage Management Body recommended us to stop the maintenance. But now we got 8 million birr from Oromia Culture and Tourism Bureau for maintenance and the constructional materials that similar to the original materials that the palace built from are obtained from the forest of the local area. Also, all process of the maintenance guided by the experts.
The current status of the road from Jimma town to Abba Jifar Palace travel and a big challenge for tourists. Therefore, it needs solution to attract local as well as foreign tourists.
The road from Jimma town to Abba Jifar Palace is the challenge for tourists, especially during the rainy season. It is trouble to go to the palace. It is beyond our capacity. At this time, the road is under maintenance. But it is not basic solution. As it is regional as well as national heritage, all governmental bodies at different levels should think it over and upgrade the level of this road to asphalt level.
The palace is not well known internationally. To solve this problem, the head of culture and tourism of Jimma town explained his future plan.
Still today, we did not sufficiently promote the palace and the museum. Now, we negotiate with Oromia Culture and Tourism Bureaus. The bureau is showing his voluntary to display on their webpage. At our level, we also plan to prepare magazines, brochures and the advertisement mechanisms.
Visitors come from different directions of the country to visit the palace. There are also visitors come from abroad to visit the palace. Income generated from the visitors contributes from development of the country. If different facilities such as road to the palace, cafeterias, recreational center, bedrooms and other are enhanced for the visitors, the number of the visitors will be increased.
ilame ilame Boolon Abbaa Jifaar yeroo sadii gooname dirree Masaraatti kabajaan du'aame beenaa hundi keessan afeerraa mooticha akka lurran tarre ilame biyya dachii bunaa jimarra tolgee naalan sirbaa kanneen shamaa jenna ilame biyya dachii bunaa jimarra tolgee naalan sirbaa kanneen shamaa jenna ilame